Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Family Dharma, the perfect human cycle, perfect female menstrual cycle, oogenesis, spermatogenesis, conception, creation of the perfect human being, and delivery. These are the things we are going to talk about it in detail and leave behind the perfect female menstrual cycle, which is not known to the world as today. My message is all the experts of the world have not elaborated on perfect female menstrual cycle. There are difficulties throughout the world, and this video will talk about that first. Then perfection from every core to create a perfect human society for the entire world, to give us world peace over a period. My dharma is the impeccable wisdom. My greatest discovery is Divyank, the divine design of nature, which is the perfect object of the entire universe, are designed, developed, created and matured over the period with a perfect mathematical design, which I call Divyank. In the light of this, we are going to see our wisdom in step by step. Second thing, as I've been saying, the mathematical design is the one. Conversion into a symbol is a second process which I am interested, which I have already spoken. This is a symbol of Divyank. And this is a symbol of entire universe, from spiral galaxy to the solar system to perfect human being to double helix to even sodium potassium pump, all the 10 centers of consciousness, everything which I have speaking about is in this particular thing. It has taken me 20 years, and this is what I am going to explain step by step hereafter. Now coming back to my prime objective of the universe is that we should all have a perfect physical health without any physical disease whatsoever. We should have perfect emotional stability. When we can consider every living and non-living beings of the entire universe as our family, that is emotional stability which I am talking about. Then we should have material wealth and prosperity of the kind that we should never be at need to borrow, beg and steal. We should in a position to give and forgive and be like Sun God, who knows how to give and give, and that's it. Then we need a perfect knowledge, data, information, knowledge and wisdom of impeccable nature, with which the entire universe can be perfect. We need abundance of impeccable wisdom without any deficiency whatsoever, because all the information, data, information, knowledge given from school, college to the universities in the world is full of many of the defects. We need to remove those defects and give the modern science with the perfect Divyank and Akhandata in mind. We should also get the best from all the books available, including all the religious and other things, because whatever I am today is from the knowledge which I got from the world. So importance of books, journals written cannot be, but we should try to get the best of every book which is in respect to Divyank and Akhandata, and that is my prime objective, to create a syllabus which centers on Divyank, the core, without any difficulty. We should also believe in our spiritual evolution, enlightenment and empowerment to get universal consciousness and give the world which is without any defect. I am not coming in the way of the people who want to talk about relativity and other things. They can continue to do. My objective is only to bring the core which gives you the power of perfection, which can create the world peace by and large. I am not standing in judgment of others. I am only bringing the kind of knowledge which every human being should have, so that they can be healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. And I want eternal, blissful, comfortable living life for every being. That's it. The next is, what are the different reasons? I have already spoken about. There are many reasons. But as a result, we fail even to produce or attain a disease-free life. Why do we do? First thing which comes to my mind is the ignorance inertia. We do not have the kind of knowledge which is required for the entire world to be perfectly enlightened. And we also do not have the initiation to go and search for impeccable wisdom. We take things, read, accept it. We don't even question ourselves whether it's right or wrong. We don't apply the mind which has been given by divine nature to human beings to the perfect being in the world. The human brain is the most fundamental, very intelligent, intuitive, otherwise it can be in tune with Akash Kosh and get all the wisdom. But we are not applying ourselves to make all the 100 billion cells with all the neurons as one integrated. And I'm glad with the help of science we are increasing the capacity of RAM itself. And similarly, the brain should be like brilliant, and ex tempo we should be in a position to speak out of our own cognition and wisdom, and that is important for us to go on. And from that angle, I would say a perfect knowledge of the perfect human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and psychology is important, and that is Divyank is talking about perfection to the core. With that, we are going to rewrite anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and all the mathematics, physics, chemistry, and other subjects which relate to human being the perfect beings. My concern is human life. If we are perfect, all our science will be perfect. The lack of psychology is also the cause that we have fighting with each other. Once we know we are part and parcel of universal consciousness, one piece, then instead of fight, we'll try to help each other to rise to the highest level of universal consciousness. And that is what I'm talking about through Divyank and Akhandata. We do not recognize the impeccable wisdom. We need to do that, and with that we can move on to the world in a much better way. Now we are coming to the very fundamental question. We human beings have the three basic duties which I have been talking about ever since my young days. The first duty is Earth Dharma or Bhumi Dharma, that we are born on Earth. Mother Earth has given us the land to live on. So our ancestors have planted so many things. Divine nature has planted something. The whole thing is that as a result, we are leading a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy life. And we need to maintain the equilibrium of Mother Earth. So whatever is required for everybody's need should be provided in adequate quantity by and large. And I am convinced beyond doubt, nature provides adequate need for everyone. But unfortunately, the population is increasing so much, and they have so much of selfish need to greed based that we live. So first dharma is keep the equilibrium by planting trees and providing food for everybody. I am coming back to agriculture as the basic. Without food we cannot do anything. We should provide good water, good education and things like that. And the second part, which I do believe, we are the one who are born on earth and our ancestors are responsible, and it is our duty to make sure that we, as a husband perfect, wife is perfect, children are perfect, next generation perfect, and next generation we should go back to Satya Yuga where everybody was perfect. That is second dharma which I am going to talk about in this particular video. And third is divine dharma, that's impeccable wisdom, which with this perfection the whole universe is designed. That information is available in different books. It's available in Vedas, Upanishads, scriptures, otherwise, and modern science. Now what we need to filter out the impeccable wisdom and give in the world, and that is divine dharma. Whatever divinity has created is perfect. And whatever we have is all because of divinity. These are the three dharmas are very important, and out of this family dharma, a family nucleus is more important. That is what I am going to talk about it in this particular video. Now, to start with, Maharishi Yajnavalkya has made a statement in Brihad Aranyakya Upanishad that whole universe was created from the Atma. And now I'm coming back to Atma, the soul, which was created before universal consciousness. And after creation, when it was alone, it had no delight. He wanted to have a desire of his own, so it created a second person out of it so that he could communicate. This is also a message which I carry, that we living human beings are designed to have male and female consciousness, only then we can be created. For that matter, males by and large are mathematical, logical, conclusive that way, but it is the females which is multidimensional. If I have to give marks, percentage from Divyank, male I would give 38.1966%. Females I'll give 61.8034%, because they have multi-dimensional thing. But both male and female put together is what Akhandata is 100%. That's what I'm talking about. So when these became Shakta and Shakti became two parts, they became like a man and a woman in embrace with each other as a perfect human beings. That is the idea which Maharishi Jajna called, that we have come from same source, both are within ourselves. He caused the self to divide into two parts. And it is also written in his books that one part like a gold and one part like silver. These two parts is what I call are the part of Divyank. Silver is the one which I talk about albumin, and gold is what I call core globulin, and the ratio of the egg is Divyank alone. So that is also something which I want to bring it clear. The idea of Divyank ratio at the yellow core and white albumin globulin ratio in hen cell, which takes 21 days to develop to form a new cup, is also beautifully designed with Divyank alone. Now with this kind of knowledge, with all the dimensions fall into that, is what I am talking about. From that arose husband and wife, and from that husband and wife went together produced a family which would have the perfect family, one by one, for the world to do. Now this particular description of creation of the soul, and from soul the body, male and female, with like an egg, Pindant is a human body, is like an egg. Brahmand is also like an egg, but the ratio is golden ratio. I would call it Divyank ratio, because precise concentration is 1 into 1.618034. Now this particular description which I explained, is it a myth, story, fiction or science? People who do not have detailed knowledge of all the information available in the entire universe from beginning till today, they cannot even imagine that this could be a science. They will say it is a story written by thing. But I know very well this is not a fiction, mythology, and this is a pure science. But we need to have the perfect science to understand it completely. Let's move on to the next stage of improvising it to the better knowledge. Now, as I told you, males and females have 22 pairs of autosomes which are responsible for cohesion of the body, but also have, male has got X and Y sex chromosomes. So there are 23 pairs. 22 again Divyank. X and Y are the two things which are available in male. And I can call Shakta at 38.1. This is core 1, and it is primarily because the testosterone produced by adrenal gland can convert into male body with XY as such. But when it comes to the female chromosome, you have autosome 22 plus X and X, does not X and Y. As a result, Shakti could have 61.8 because there are two X's, whereas Shakta has only one X. And as a result, less testosterone, this is a female body. That happens within the conception, within the body itself. If there is enough testosterone, it will be a predominance of a male consciousness, with a male mind completely. If it is not, then you'll have female consciousness coming at, both can be produced within the human body as such with this particular thing. Let's move on to the next stage. Now I'm making one honest statement. I'm a medical doctor, trained in Madras Medical College, and I think I have been very reflective, very thinking positive from my childhood. What is the perfect knowledge? And I think having done that from school, college to the university till my PhD work to today, I'm only talking about impeccable wisdom because I analyze things and look intelligently what could be the perfect one. And from that point of being a medical doctor on one side, although I'm a male, but I think one statement which I'm making is perfect human menstrual cycle has not been explored, enumerated extensively, anyone, any expert in the world before 2015 at all. I think Divyank, which was created in 2015, gave me the idea to look for female menstrual cycle in the light of Divyank, and from that time I have been talking about. Now let us first comprehend the wisdom in the perfect human menstrual cycle to review the confusion about family process itself. First, let's remove all the deficiency in the knowledge we have throughout the world. I am talking about throughout, I am not talking about any individual. I am only saying we have taken things granted, what is published. We continue to only do that and spread. Nobody is prepared to think rationally and look at what nature has given. We have ignored the beautiful design of nature. And many things were given, but we never looked at it the way we should have looked at it. And that is the first question which comes to my mind. This video is going to be impeccable because it's thinking and telling the entire world is defective. And I have a right to say because I am concerned about humanity, because I want the perfect knowledge. And this is something which is very important. Now let's understand what is a well-known and accepted international human menstrual cycle. As you can see, this is a picture which has been seen, which is divided into two parts with a line in the middle. Left side is a proliferation, right side is secretory phase. Proliferation is the one when primary oocytes are developing into ovum, then ovulation takes place, and then for procreation, and thereafter what happens are the two parts. You can literally see ascending phase coming down, and then other side you can say descending phase. Now from that angle, if you keep this picture, this is divided into three components as you can see down. Red are the first 5 days of bleeding. Then orange are the 8 days of proliferation. Then you have ovulation. Then you have blue 13 days of secretion. But 5 plus 8 is equal to 13. You can see Divyank sequence here completely. World has not made any defect on that. But they have to 5 plus 8 and 13 are the one. This is talked about in this particular picture. Now let me explain that with another picture which is considered the greatest encyclopedia in the world. Everybody is looking up to. The first bleeding phase is one which I have told you has been explained as the first process. The red component, you can see the picture. Then second 8 phases, you can see the second one, and the phase is pictured very clear, 5 plus 8. Then you have ovulation of 12 hours in the middle, which you can see very clearly. Then you have 13 days of secretory phase, which is also clear in the blue pictures. Now you have seen in this picture 3 things one by one clearly. Now we go on to give you a picture of Britannica's encyclopedia, which in my opinion is this the picture which is used by all the schools, colleges, universities throughout the world uniformly. Nobody has questioned this particular entry. I'm not questioning, but this is the knowledge given by all the experts of the world who call themselves experts. This knowledge, what it says, standard international accepted taught books from throughout, in books, journals, everywhere. There are 3 major parts: bleeding 5 days, proliferation 8 days, secretion 13 days, and then you have ovulation, and then 5 plus 8, 13 is 26 days. Do you see a hidden sequence of 5, 8 and 13? I'm sure you have already seen. I brought it very clearly. That is Fibonacci sequence or Divyank sequence. Now I have an honest question. Is this a perfect model? Is this truly genuine? Or have we missed the real divine sequence in this particular thing? And I'm talking about mathematical design. Because I'm fundamentally a mathematician, divine mathematician. I'm the one who gave Divyank for the first time the history of mankind. Revealed, recognized, conceived for the first time in 2015. No one in the world has ever done that before. Now in the light of Divyank, we are going to see the real sequence and the event one by one to lay on record impeccable wisdom which the world needs it. And I want this particular video to be seen by every person, every student from school, college to the university, and see that what Divyank can really make a difference in the knowledge and the international level itself. Now, what are the missing events? Let's talk about it. Perfect human menstrual starts 3 days before the bleeding. Now, I'm making it very clear. Does not start with the bleeding. That is not the first event in a female menstrual cycle. Bleeding is not the first one. Actually, the one which starts 3 days before. So now you create a new sequence. 3 days, 5 days, 8 days, then ovulation, then 8 and 5 to lead to another 3 is something which I am talking about from my knowledge, keeping clearly that female menstrual cycle derives its name from moon. That's it. Why are this particular incident of 3 days ignored, not considered, not elaborated is something which I would call it. We have, whatever knowledge is given to us, we say that is right. We start taking reference that and then try to build on it. When the beginning itself was defective, nobody has actually thought beyond to look at it. And I'm not finding fault with anybody because they were not mathematicians. They did not know divine mathematics. And I think my 60 years of search for divine mathematics brought me to Divyank. Now, having done that, let's move on. Let us not be a copycat research scientist anymore. Let us apply our minds. Let's use at least Divyank to start and look for the perfection one by one. Now, let's challenge ourselves once again. We need impeccable wisdom and move on. Now, as I told you, the human menstrual cycle derives its inspiration from moon design of the menses. That is what it is. But as a person who understands astronomy, who understands astrology, who understands all the 64 arts, and I'm very clearly, I'm fundamentally a divine mathematician. I understand physics completely. I understand chemistry completely. I understand all the 64 arts. Because I have knowledge of all the 64 arts, so I can see from different sides how things. Maybe because I understand astronomy very well, astrology very well, and their association with chakras, nadis very well. I know this is a name. If this is a name, then I try to find it out how many days are there in every month. Ascending and descending put together is 29.52 days only. It is not 26 days. That means we have missed 3.5 days events in the cycle completely. 5, 8, 13 is fine, but even that is defective. But the whole thing should have been a Divyank sequence. Again, I'm making it very clear. It all started from 0 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. This is a sequence which we see it. I have already talked about in Fibonacci sequence, also in golden ratio, also in Divyank ratio. And this is something which is accepted from India, from Pingala onward, 2500 years ago. And also I say 0 was given to us from the Vedas itself, from Shunya itself. It was not come in 6th or 7th century, and also I have already spoken about it. Now, the first 3 days should precede the 5 days is something which I am making it very, very clear. We need to be forthright. 3 days, whole thing. But now let us understand what exactly happens 3 days before bleeding step by step with the impeccable wisdom which should be enlightening for anyone and everyone in the world. It's a one man, for the first time in the history of mankind, is talking about something which has never been done in the history of mankind. I am forthright in that. We need to be self-reflective and move on. Now, I would say a perfect design of human cycle, it has 5 different centers which play a very important role. First part is hypothalamus, which is integrating center of autonomic nervous system and endocrine glands. And these are the ones which produce hormones and of course autonomic nervous system to blink clearly. So hypothalamus is the first thing I'm going to talk about it. Second thing is anterior pituitary as far as female menstrual cycle is concerned, and posterior pituitary as far as delivery is concerned. Then you have ovaries, then you have uterus, and then you also have a psychology. And all these centers we need to understand. That's what again I'm saying. Many people ask me, why are you making videos of 1 hour plus? It's too lengthy to see. And I make it very clear. Unless until you have A to Z detailed information, data, information, knowledge in impeccable wisdom, you cannot be enlightened at all. If you want to be enlightened, I would like to make as long as possible and then leave behind the legacy the way it is required for the world to understand impeccable wisdom. And this video may be longer than other videos, but I'm not concerned about that. I want to make this a lecture for the world that we need to start impeccably. I've already spoken about that thing, but this is the most important video because one man is talking about one thing which has never been done by anyone in applied aspects. And we human beings, we need to take care of mothers, we need to take care of females, we need to understand that so that we can be healthy. From that angle, let me move on to the next one. Now let's come to hypothalamus and pituitary complex, the anterior and posterior pituitary and hypothalamus. The first thing, 3 days before, GnRH is the one which is started from hypothalamus, along with other releasing hormones which are produced in picograms in hypothalamus, and they move through hypothalamic hypophyseal axis to the anterior pituitary, and then the whole process starts from there onwards. That is one point which I am making it very clear. It is GnRH, glomerular releasing hormone, which is produced, which is going to start the process of follicular stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, and other essential hormones from anterior pituitary to start the process of hormonal changes, one and large. So I think this is very clear. We have not given consideration to 3 days before GnRH starts releasing for the first time. That's one part. Second part, let me tell you, is with the help of GnRH, then follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, a cohort of 10 primary follicles are picked up. They start developing in the next 3 days from primary to the secondary. By and large, the process is going to take place. But there are few things which I would talk, how primary to secondary, when exactly it takes place and what it does not take place. Right up to primary is there before even birth itself. But it comes to the stage, start developing. But when does it actually mature? Is only after fertilization, not before that. That is also something meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 should be taken into consideration. I'm going to talk about that also precisely. That's one part. Then that happens as far as ovaries are concerned. Then also estrogen and progesterone can also start developing along with follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone by the anterior pituitary. But ovaries produce estrogen, progesterone, other hormones to support pregnancy. But first one is only estrogen. Progesterone comes after the ovulation, not before that. Estrogen means heat producing animal, the hormone which can produce heat. And we human beings also are estrogen based only. That's the reason during period temperature increases to prove it. When progesterone is supporting the child, progestation is also something which I want the world to understand, that our children should be given that kind of knowledge. I want this knowledge to be started from school itself. Let's take it. Then second thing comes up is in endometrium, new basal layer starts forming for the first time. It's a new basal layer, start 3 days before. Functional layer which was there is cut off from endometrium, new the basal layer, that is 3 days before. Because it cuts off the blood supply from endometrium to the functional layer, that's why you have all the complaints of premenstrual tension, is also something which I want to put it across. It is a new basal layer which separates the old functional layer from endometrium, blood supply is cut off, and all the dehydration is what leads to bleeding after 3 days. Now I'm sure you have perfect knowledge, one by one, cohort of 10 follicles, out of that 1 will become prominent, 9 will disappear. Then hormones which are produced and endometrium, the new basal layer, and cutting off the functional layer is something which I want every child to understand. This is what is happening 3 days before. Now, when the other thing, premenstrual tension is something which I want everybody knows, that before period 3 days girls suffer. What are the things which I have put in this particular picture? You have mood swings, different emotions happen because of hormones. Then you have instability. Then you have different problems like you can't sleep, you have pain, you have stress, you have acne, you have different breast manifestations and other things. All the pictures I have given, these are the complaints which have already been noticed by medical science. But unfortunately, understanding that they are natural part of the whole system, we treat it with symptomatic treatment. We are not trying to understand that this is common, take rest, don't worry about it, keep yourself busy with the studies, you will have no problem whatsoever. That's it. Now I am now going to present the whole thing into this particular picture as a comprehensive 3 days. The first phase I call it, first phase of proliferation I call it, because it is a primary follicles are developing into secondary phase. 10 cohort is one. I have written FSH, follicular stimulating hormone, LH, luteinizing hormone, estrogen, progestin, other hormones you can see on the left side, and also existing functional layer you can see, and also say new layer is formed. Now you can see graphically, these are the things which are taking place in hypothalamus, anterior pituitary, as well as ovaries, as well as uterus. Once these 3 things, and no one in the world can say this is not right. This is knowledge which has been explained, understood by everybody. We know it very well. But we have not put it across to the world to give them the perfect. No wonder I, as a professor of physiology, who was trying to explain anatomy, physiology, biochemistry to my student, they were finding it very difficult to understand. When I started explaining with this Divyank, they found it and they started getting center marks. And that is my desire for the world. We need, every child needs this knowledge. And I'm doing this because I'm concerned about every child's impeccable wisdom. So hypothalamus, release of GnRH, interior hormone follicle stimulate as you have written, cohort of 10 primary, new cycle ovaries, estrogen to produce heat, estrous cycle, progesterone for pre-gestation hormone also, and also these terms I want everybody to understand. Let us not ignore they are too young. Children are much more intelligent provided we give them interesting knowledge. And more interesting knowledge we give from the day one. They don't have to unlearn or relearn at a later stage. And I always had a problem because they won't even understand fundamentals. So removing the old one and putting new was a very, very difficult job. And now I want entire world to have impeccable wisdom from young student of 8 years itself. Not from first 7 years, no. But when it comes to the science subjects, they should be given that kind of knowledge from the beginning itself. This is how it is. Now coming to the next stage, a second is the bleeding phase. You can see the particular picture very clearly. You can see the new basal layer is gradually increasing. As it is increasing, it cuts off the blood supply to the functional layer as they start bleeding and things like that. Whole the representation is put in this particular picture very clearly. 3 days to the 5 days, you can see it very clearly. This is the knowledge which I want every child to have it. Third phase is third secretory phase or proliferation phase or follicular stage. First 3 days, first, second, third. Then these 3, 5 and 8 is a beautiful Divyank sequence which nature uses it. And now 8 days is the third phase, isn't proliferation. It should be understood, and how the new basal layer is becoming a functional layer thereafter. That is also something which nobody teaches in school, college, universities. Even university they don't teach it. But I want everybody to read this. This is for the entire world. One video, entire world should see. Every teacher should see. Every research scholar should see. Every inventor should see. That's the knowledge which you need for the world to get impeccable wisdom. That's it. Let's go to the next stage. Then we have an ovulation which takes place, and ovulation is primarily because the estrogen and LH surge takes place, increases the body temperature. As a result, ovum is released, and that lasts for 12 hours. So 3 plus 5 plus 8 is one part. Then you got ovulation. Come to the stage, estrogen, LH surge, you can see very clearly. And you can also see when the ovum is expelled out. You can see on that part. Once that is clear, you can move on to the next stage, which is again I want to show. It is not 13 days which everybody is talking about. But at this particular juncture, let me also bring one more concept. Ovum takes 12 days to form and lasts for 12 hours. And within 12 hours, it should be completely fertilized. And sperm takes 72 days. It lasts for 72 hours. That means it almost got 9 times to impregnate. And male sperm with Y is faster than XX. And chances of pregnancy are much more to produce a male child if copulation takes place within that 12 hours time. It would male. If it is before, more than that, and after that, it's going to be problematic. That's also something which the world should understand as such. Then comes the question of corpus luteum. Now I'm beginning very clear. 3, 5, 8, half. Then 8 days is the corpus luteum phase. It is not 13 days. And corpus luteum is the one which is going to produce, you can see right now, estrogen and progesterone down, you can see it very clearly. Progesterone has gone up, estrogen had come down, estrogen is being formed again. Both are going required because they have to support pregnancy. Progesterone is formed. For 8 days, this is stage for fertilization take place, and ovum to sperm to zygote to form to get implanted in the endometrium is 8 days. And for 8 days, corpus luteum is maintained to produce estrogen and progesterone, and the size that is something which I want everyone to know. Progesterone is more, estrogen is more, which is there for pregnancy. And 8 days from the time of fertilization to implantation in the uterus should be 8 days, not less, not more. 8 days, if it does not get implanted, signal is sent by the uterus to the hypothalamus. Pregnancy has not taken place. Secondary ovulation has not taken place. Now you stop producing GnRH. then stop producing follicular stimulating hormone, you stop producing luteinizing hormone, and also estrogen, progesterone. The whole cycle comes to an end after 8 days. Very interesting. But do we teach our students like that? No. Because we don't teach, they don't understand the whole structure of hormones, whole structure of ovum, whole structure of ovaries, whole structure of endometrium. Is deficient because our teaching is defective. Now coming to the next part is something which I want to say. Then you have 5 days are corpus albicans. Mean corpus luteum is not going to function, it's going to stop, then it gets necrosis, and within 5 days it disappears. When in 5 days it disappears, it comes to the end of the cycle. We started 3 days, 5 days, 8 days, ovulation, 8 days, 5 days, and then start the next cycle of 3 days. Now how beautiful is this lunar calendar? And it made my job very clearly at every stage. After 5 days of corpus albicans, signal goes to hypothalamus again. Start producing GnRH. Start producing follicular stimulating hormone. Start producing luteinizing hormone. Start producing new albicans. Start increasing cohort of 10 primary follicles. And how beautiful the cycle starts again. This is the kind of knowledge which I want every child from school, college, university, all the PhD scholars. If you know the perfect model, then problem for pregnancy will not be there. But since we don't even know this perfection, that we have a problem. That this is also something at bottom part I'm saying. Corpus luteum should also be of 21 to 20 millimeter size, not something at the time of ovulation. That is also something which I want everyone to understand. This is this. Now, impeccable wisdom I am going to present once in a comprehensive. The first phase, proliferation, 3 days. Second phase, bleeding and proliferation, 5 days. And third, proliferation, 8 days. Then fourth phase, ovulation, 12 hours. Then fifth phase, corpus luteum, 8 days. Then sixth phase, corpus albicans, 5 days. This is the perfect knowledge with all the science which I have spoken about, is something which I want every child throughout the world to understand. If this is understood, we'll have a perfectly healthy mind. And I can tell you, with the help of diet, exercise and other things, every child can have this particular thing. There will not be any problem of not conceiving at all. Not conceiving other things, because we are not even teaching the girls what to eat, what not to do it, what is required, not required. And even hormones are produced based on what we eat. They are chemical reactions. If the ingredient taken itself is deficient, if we are going to improve on nuns and what I say, brahmacharya and many things that we should not do this, then I think we are playing with the system itself. I am not talking about any individual, but that is seen in many of the things. And I want everybody, every male and female, to be normal, perfect, get food, take care of things properly and have this perfect cycle. Then they will have no difficulty and they can choose to have son or a daughter at the regular time and leave the world as a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy world. And this is what I am talking about, and I am sure this particular video must be enlightening for anyone. This is what should have been taught but has not been taught, and I want to teach this, and I want to leave behind the legacy for the world. This is the knowledge which the world needs it. Now coming to the next question of procreation. Both ovum and sperm get together to form zygote. Now, as I started, it's a family tree. It's called Pitrarin in ancient Indian case. Ancestral debt, we should have religious marriage, have a healthy, wealthy procreation, and progression of human age should be very healthy. That means husband should have only one wife, it's dharma, and be loyal and leave it at that. And that is with the rin, we all should have it by and large. Now I am coming to the living cell. Under compound microscope can be seen only 3 parts: cell membrane, cytoplasm and the nucleus. This is under compartment only 3 parts. But when you see the same thing under electron microscope, we know the cell membrane is made of 7 parts. Cytoplasm, there are 7 organelles, and nucleus has 7 parts. There are 21 parts. There is one part which I have shown as a centrosome, which gets divided into 2 centrioles and leads to 22 by 21. This is also the first stage of everywhere, including living cells. Let that also be known very clearly. This is a divine design. The Brahmank, the Lord of creation, is centers on 22 by 21, which is 1/3 of pi. That's also something which world should understand. It's a simple 3.142857, and 1/3 of that is 22 by 21. Is a beautiful mathematical design. No one, and this has been spoken abundantly in our Upanishads. And also I showing that in the science, bringing science and spiritual together, this is the kind of knowledge which is required for the world. Now coming to the next stage, another thing which is very enlightening as far as I am concerned, that B double helix designed by Watson and Crick is very good. There is no doubt. They got a Nobel Prize in 1953. Excellent. But the one designed with Divyank in mind is much more perfect than Watson and Crick's. Here width is 21 angstrom and spiral is 22, and then 10.344 are the strands, and many more things which I have spoken about in B double helix in this should also be taught to the children so that they have a perfect knowledge of DNA structure. Perfect DNA structure, gene structure, designing the whole thing is based on Divyank only. And another thing inside the nucleic acid, pentose sugar, phosphorus is also brilliant for that particular video, and this is just reminder that how beautiful it is. There are 2 central zones with 2 centrioles, 1 centriole with 2 centrioles. Now coming to the 22 pairs, again Divyank. 22 autosomes is clear. Then X and Y. X is bigger, Y is smaller. Because Y is smaller, so sperm happens to travel faster with the male component than the female component. That's also something which I want the world to understand. Now come to the question of oogenesis, form of ovum. That also goes to 10 stages from oogonium to ovum is given. I'm not going to talk in detail. Read it at leisure from the book. I'll come back to this, read in detail. And second thing, this is what I want to make it very clear. Fetal stage, oogonia, goes through mitotic differentiation. You can see, and that primary oocyte is created in fetal life itself. And first mitotic division is completed prior to ovulation. First meiotic division, not mitotic, meiotic division is before ovulation from primary oocyte to that stage first. But secondary stage only after fertilization. That's also something which I want to do. And second thing which I have put on the right side, before birth, the number of cells are plenty. But puberty onwards, gradually, monthly, we start losing cells. It could be 10, it could be 100. But by the time you come to the menopause stage, number would have come down considerably. And that is another reality which I want to share. Power of oogenesis is very high as the children are small. As we grow older, it comes down. The earlier the marriage, the better, healthier, and otherwise is something we should be very clear about it. Now, one point which I have told earlier, I am making it very clear, that before ovulation, the follicle size should be 21 to 22 millimeter. You got to make sure it is 21 to 20 millimeters, then only perfect ovum will come. Pregnancy will be perfectly normal. There will not be any problem. This is again based on Divyank only. And where I'm not talking about my side. I'm just talking about science, which are irrational lying here and there, making into sequence and say, this is the knowledge which we should teach to every student from school, college to the university. Now come to the spermatogenesis. This is also something which I want everybody to understand clearly. Structure is known. I am not going to talk about it. This is known very clearly. This is not the topic to say about female menstrual cycle, female reproductive system or male reproductive system. That's not my issue. My issue is oogenesis and spermatogenesis. When come to the spermatogenesis, again I have spoken about it. Hypothalamus releases GnRH. Then anterior pituitary is follicular stimulated and luteinizing hormone. How they play a role in formation of sperm is something very beautifully given here. This is from internet. It's available to everybody. I have no doubt. I'm not going to talk of anything a defect in this. A beautiful one. You can read it leisurely. Then you have spermatotubules. This is the one with which sperms are being formed. How they are formed, I'm not going to talk about it, but this is a process for you to read the next, how they are formed one by one. And how spermatogonium converts into sperms, the different stages of 10 stages it goes through is given in this thing. I'm not going to talk of this because this will be very elaborate, make it very lengthy. Leave it at that. And these are the 10 stages of development from spermatogonium to sperms. You can read it leisure, one by one from this, or you take this from the books and done with it. I have no issues on that part of it. And this is a different picture of gradual development from spermatogonium to go, and picture is very clear. You can read it leisurely how circular cell becomes elongated sperm, and what are the different parts is given very clearly. Read it leisurely. But one thing which I want again Divyank to come to picture very clearly. One spermatogonium germ cell leads to formation of 526 sperms. I make it very clear. 526 sperms, adult, mature, are formed from one spermatogonium. So what is the secret? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 526. There are 10 stages. That shows even here 10 stages of development is formed. If the cell was 22 by 21, then 10 stages you come to form the sperm itself. How beautiful is Divyank? How meticulously designed everywhere. And this is not something which I am talking from my pocket. This is all in the books, all the scientific research of the book. I am only bringing that knowledge and giving impeccable wisdom one by one. Now come to the question of perfect fetal development. Now sperm and ovum get together to form zygote, and what happens thereafter? Fertilization, union of ovum and sperm. Now both put together, and as I told you again, meiosis 2 is completed after fertilization only. That is also something which I want every time. Meiotic first takes place earlier, from primordial stage, before ovulation. But after fertilization, only meiosis 2 takes place. That's also something which I want every child, every student, every person, male or female, doesn't matter. Everybody should have the perfect knowledge. That is the point which I'm making it very clear. That's the knowledge which we need to give it. Now, how ovum and sperm put together, what kind of things they go, is the process of fertilization given, and how they form zygote. Now, sperms come, but it is only the nucleus of the sperm and the nucleus of the ovum get together to form zygote. Rest of the part is just not there. That's also something which I want to understand. We should give precise, concise knowledge which has no difficulty at all. Let us not confuse any child with the information which is not. There is not a drama. It's a divine nature. It is not a drama. If you want to call it divine drama and talk about perfection, I have no issues. But let us not mislead people. Let's not give defective models. Let's give them the perfect model, because I'm talking about perfection, impeccable wisdom, nothing other than that. Now in this picture again you can see how you have the nucleus of the egg, ovum and male together to form zygote, and you can see very clearly in this picture what fertilization of ovum and sperm to get form zygote. You can see in this picture very clearly, and that is the knowledge which is required for the world to understand perfection. Now from that, having start ovul, if pregnant intercourse you call it, or union you call it, sperm and together get close to unite in the fallopian tube alone. From then it takes 8 days to come and get implanted in endometrium. That's again why corpus luteum is lost for 8 days. If implantation does not take place within 8 days, signal is sent, it has not taken place, so with complete. So that is what within 8 days after ovulation, implantation should take place. And that's it. And then move on to the next stage. Now, after 4 days, you can start seeing. Now I'm going to bring ancient Indian wisdom into the picture. Ancient Indian wisdom says, after creating the world, Lord Brahma took rest for 1.5 years. Now I am going to say, after zygote is formed, there is no division for 1.5 days. That's also reality which science has stuck. Now we are going to interpret that. Ancient wisdom and modern science, 1.5 years means 1.5 days. And how from there dichotomous decision takes place. 1 to 2, 4, 8, 16, and how things go to form trigeminal layer, you can see on the right side. So you have now 3 phases: first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester. Now let's understand the very next stage, how things work. First trimester, first week, you can see the size. 2 weeks, how it becomes. 3 weeks, what happens. 4th week, what happens. 5 weeks, what happens. 6 weeks, what happens. 8 weeks, what happens. 9. Now this particular information is beautifully designed in Aitreya Upanishad about the development of the mind and 8 parts. And I'm amazed, Aitreya Upanishad, written thousands and thousands years ago, knew the first trimester very clearly in that form, and how 8 things were formed and how they were put into water. In this is something I want you to see. Reorganization or reincarnation of 22 stages, this is described very beautifully there, with a support from Aitreya Upanishad, which is reflection of Rig Veda, and now science put together. Now you see those things, then you have knowledge which will be amazing thereafter. Next comes the scale, second trimester is something which Aitreya Upanishad is talking about the second stage, how they are formed from 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 to 22 to 23 weeks. Now I make it very clear, 22 weeks is the minimum. First 11 weeks, then 22 weeks is the stage by the time the body is fully developed. You can see the last down is the fetus, as you can see, as it is to develop. And that is the ideal time for Antaratma or Kundalini to enter into the head, through Sahasrara, to take over and modify the body to the extent that you can have perfect human being with all the knowledge of ancient Indian wisdom which they have gone through. Remember, as reincarnation. That is what I said, reincarnation. It enters at this particular stage. Now in this particular stage, I said 22 weeks to 24 weeks is the thing which Aitreya Upanishad talks about it. That is the entrance of indwelling human soul into the body, and that's the picture I've shared. This is a picture I've sent. It's a beautiful work, all said and done. Now the third trimester starts after that. 7th, 8th and 9th month. First 3 months, second 3 months, now third 3 months. How after soul has entered, it modifies the nervous system completely. It forms all the 10 centers of consciousness of endocrine gland, autonomic ganglion completely. All the 10 chakras are developed. Body is fully developed. And as a result, whole nervous system is strong. Whole 100 trillion cells are complete. Done with it. At the end of 9 months, how the head turns down and comes to the stage for delivery. That is again something which I want to know world to understand, something very, very important. Now comes the child delivery with a positive feedback. And it is said this is a positive feedback. Negative feedback means cause and effect in opposite directions. If the blood pressure has gone up, it will bring it down. If it is down, it will increase. But here, first signal produces one effect. Then effect becomes a stimulus for the next thing. But the same kind of process goes on and on till the result is received. That is a positive feedback. The best example is delivery. As head turns to the cervix expands, that sends the signals to hypothalamus, release oxytocin. When oxytocin is released, there is a contraction of the head of the uterus down, and head is pushed down, and more relaxation of cervix, more signals goes to the brain, hypothalamus, as well as posterior pituitary to release oxytocin. More oxytocin is released, more contraction takes place, and finally this process goes on till the fetus is matured difficult without any problem. And I make it very clearly, don't interfere in the female menstruation. Nature knows how to do it on its own. Just be observant and do things. You don't have to go for cesarean, you don't have to go anything, provided you have taken care of child's menstrual cycle completely, ovulation completely, and taken care of sex completely. Everything is beautifully designed. Nature is perfect to the core, and this is what it is all about. And having said that, and I think we have come to the end of the thing, we need to understand the perfect female menstrual cycle, which I have spoken for the first time. I have spoken about all the events which we need to understand completely so that the next generation is complete. So when I say family dharma, ancestral rin or pitra rin is to have next generation perfectly grown. Let every girl have a perfect female menstrual cycle, perfect fertilization, perfect delivery. And if this particular video, in my opinion, is eye-opener for every student, every person of the world to see. This is the perfect ever done in the history of mankind. If somebody can find fault in the light of this, change my. But I am talking about the core perfection. I am not talking of disease. I am not concerned here about poor patients. Let the doctors do it. Let us be perfect. That is what the world needs for the world. From that angle, I think this is perfect. Now we come to the last stage. I am not going to talk about it, but this is also something which I want the child, if the cosmic Purusha would have Ida, Pingala, Sushmana, Chakras, Nadis, everything is there in this. I think I have spoken enough for perfection to the core. Should be enough for anybody and everybody for the world. You need to see this for rest of your generation, for every child to understand they should lead online and be happy with. So thank you very much for, I really enjoyed, I've done it wonderful, and this is the best video along with Divyank and many other things. But from a medical science point of view, this is the greatest contribution by one single person for the entire world. And I want the world to really see, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but I want this to be used. We need to be thinking lots, because we are like that. We need to find something which is perfection to the core. Let's not talk of the disease models. Let's talk of the perfection, because the world needs wisdom to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. From that angle, this is, and thank you very much. Thank you.